everyone. Thank you, first of all, for watching There Are Things to Do. I am a filmmaker and playwright. My name is Fermin Rojas, and I've had the great pleasure of serving as producer on our film. And I'm joined today by the director of the film, Mike Sires, and the amazing humorist and activist, Kate Clinton, who is featured in the film. One of the first prominent lesbian comedians appearing on national mainstream media in the 1980s. And for years been headlining and fundraising events for many of the most important LGBTQ organizations around the country. You're really an icon of our social movements. So
Thank you.
how is it that you and Urvashi, two forces of nature, came to know each other? How did your worlds collide?
I was at a conference, a really boring conference, and people were just. It was a conference on communication, and no one was doing it right. But we were going around the circle, and finally, somebody said, "I would just like to make 3 points." And I saw these fingers, and I looked down, and there was Urvashi, who picked me up later in the day. We stayed together for 34 years.
And when you two met, were your activism careers already like in full force, or is this something that happened as a result of your life together? Or
Both of us were busy doing our thing. She was running the communications or propaganda arm of the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force. I was really out on the road a lot. So it was, and she was on the road too, but so it was really like, in terms of sexuality, it was often happened in scheduling. It was fun. Like, oh, good, we can be together in Chicago. But we were,
activism is hot.
activism is hot.
So, talking about meeting, Mike, how did you meet Urvashi and Kate, and how did you come up with the idea to make this movie? I mean, were you all friends, or?
Well, actually, I didn't know Urvashi nor Kate, but I knew of them. And so I remember sitting next to them on the bench in front of Spiritus, which is the pizza place where people hang out on a weekend in the summer. And I was just like, oh my God, there's Urvashi and there's Kate. I had been to the '93 March on Washington, recalled Urvashi as a major leader in the movement. And also because of my former corporate work, I had been to a lot of the LGBT workplace inclusion conferences, and Kate was an amazing host for many of those. And so the film was created really for the local community here in Provincetown. And, it was just so well received. People talked about how much it impacted them and how they really questioned themselves as to why they haven't done more. And this film only covers a very, very small sliver of Urvashi's life. It's basically a focus on her life in Provincetown.
Provincetown is a very protective place when it comes to LGBTQ rights. So it's we talk in the film where it was a place for her to regroup and to recharge, and it's a safe space to work, where you created community. The film title, There Are Things to Do, which is the final chapter in Virtual Equality. What are some of the points from the book and or practical experience that you suggest for creating community?
Well, I think that a lot of it is about food, if I could say that. It certainly was with Urvashi and me, which is you invite people over. You have somebody over for dinner, they know somebody else. And then you say, like, I really am worried about this. Can we do something?
It's discussed in the film, you got to start where you are and create community where you are. And so, kind of very fortunate to live in a bubble here in Provincetown. But realize that many communities may not be like this. And so, part of it is just sort of, reaching out and connecting with your neighbors, and seeing how you can partner and create allies, and take steps.
I think right now, at this moment in history, we need to get together sooner and be louder. And we need to get our message out, and we need to join up with other movements that are happening. We have to get our voices out and together. And that was one thing Urvashi understood perfectly. And she could have the most incredible philosophical ideas, and then she would give you the list of how we're going to do it. And it's like practice is, it's a practice. And
I like the word practice. It means it's something you work at every day and get better and better at it.
And I worry that people are ceding the land to the other side, and there's a lot of depression and anxiety. And I think we just have to work through it. And the best way to get through it is to be active with other people and, get things done. And right now, what you should be worried about is the election.
I think people have grown up, generations of LGBT people have grown up being out and open and feeling very like everything's fine. And the reality is, as Kate talks about in the film, the backlash. And, the reality is, in Urvashi's book, she said, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent, the power is in your voice and your vote.
We cannot sit back on our laurels. With that said, I want to thank you all for joining us and for having watched There Are Things to Do. Get out there and do the work.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.